Let our opponent play a land here. They're going to cast a Beanstalk. We're going to counter said Beanstalk and have a good time. Rick, how much standard do you play? Enough to know, dude. This town isn't big enough, so I feel perfectly fine doing this. And they don't want to deal with Kaito. Okay. Mono white caretaker's talent, and I don't have the counter spell. Everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to be playing some Dimir enchantments. We're going to be trying to give our opponents a very awful time. It's kind of the strategy of this deck. As you'll see, one opponent maybe gets up and leaves the table as soon as we put a Hopeless Nightmare in play, but that is besides the point. This deck is a super synergistic deck, so if that's something you're looking for, this is definitely maybe a deck for you. And it's also relatively cheap to craft overall, which is one of my favorite parts about this deck. It's super easy to kind of recommend. Outside of a couple rares and mythics over here, which can be replaced if you want them to be. But yeah, if you look here, we have 4 rares, mythic and mythics. Most likely you probably have these. These are playable in most any other deck that is playing black mana, and entity tracker is most likely only going to be played here. But if you are playing blue black quite a lot, I mean, most of this deck you can just have on retainer, and all these over here are common and uncommons. Outside of these 3 that you probably already have some amount of, you're probably looking at like 8 rares to craft and maybe 5 to like 20 commons and / uncommons, things like that. Other than that, save that. I was making a change in the sideboard that doesn't exist for Rottenmouth Viper. We'll talk about that in the outro if you're interested in my thoughts about that card. But yeah, this deck is fully synergistic around enchantments. What we want to do is we want to play enchantments early, pick them up while making our opponent pick their stuff back up if we're using like this town ain't big enough. On a Hopeless Nightmare, for example, we play this, they discard a card, they lose 2. We play this town ain't big enough, pick it up, bounce their creature. We replay Hopeless Nightmare next turn, making them discard another card, and now we're kind of just staggering them and setting them back turn after turn until we can slowly grind out the game with something like an entity tracker that draws a card for every enchantment that enters the battlefield, and Kaito that can draw cards off of doing damage and acts as our closer overall if need be, if we can't just get there with some of our smaller stuff. Because Hopeless Nightmare does a lot of damage over time. If you play 4 of them, that's 8. Playing 4 of them is pretty reasonable. Not that you're playing 4 separate copies, but playing this one repetitively. Because we also have Fear of Isolation, picking it back up. We have Get Out overall. If we have 2 Hopeless Nightmares, we can use this to pick up 2 copies. This is kind of the splashy, flashy card, if you would. Counter target creature or enchantment. Return up to 2 target creatures and enchantments you owned to your hand. So this card, if you want to know a couple of cards that just hits right out the gate, Up to Beanstalk is very good if you are on to play any Overlord that your opponents are playing in Domain. This can pick up in Boros enchantments. It can answer like the Ethereal Armors, the protection spells, and things like that. It can also just counter the creature. So for example, if your opponent suspends a Slick Shot, not suspend, but plots a Slick Shot, goes to cast it, you can then counter it, things like that. This card actually gets a ton of value, but you can also use it to pick up your Nowhere to Run. So this deck is kind of the formulation of what the Pixie Bounce deck was that required white. We've since then entirely cut it to play these type of cards instead. The other kind of splashy card that I am playing a one of that I definitely want to try out is this Infection card. This says enchant creature. This card is very weird, so make sure you pay attention to how you use this card. When it enters, target player sacrifices a creature of their choice other than enchanted creature. Why that is weird, so if your opponent has 2 creatures in play, you can actually enchant one of their creatures, still target them, and then they have to sacrifice the other. But if they only have 1 creature in play, and say we have a Siren in play, we can enchant our Siren and then force them to sacrifice their last creature. So it's a little bit weird, make sure you know that. But the best part is if you do get to target theirs as well, it does says when enchanted creature is dealt damage, destroy it. So if we do put it on one of their creatures, they sack another one, blocking with the Spyglass Siren. It could be 100-100. The Siren deals damage to it. It will then just be destroyed because of this card. So it's definitely an interesting card. It is a one of. Outside of that, we have a one of Lily, just kind of a couple bullet cards. Floodpits Drowner as a 2 of. And then we're pretty well stacked up as a 4 of across the board other than Kaito, because this card relies on you having a lot of creatures. We have 14 ish creatures in this deck, but obviously we make a ton off of Stormchaser's talent, so it's a little bit false advertising there. So realistically, you're going to have anywhere between 14 to 20 creatures because, again, picking this up is very, very easy when it comes to like this town ain't big enough, fear of isolation, and things like that. So outside of that, we're going to go ahead and dive into the games. I hope you all enjoyed them. If you enjoy the content, please consider subscribing, and let's head out there and game. A lot of stuff, I guess. We'll try it. You know, the best of one special, if you would. All right. Well, I have a lot of stuff I can throw in the way of that. That's for sure. All of it's blue. Not really much more outside of that. Okay, I don't know about that, but I probably, knowing this game, I won't find anything to punish that. Yeah. A little how it be sometimes. Okay. Here's a couple of copies of these, because apparently that's all I want to draw. Typically, I think Sheltering by Ghost, a 1/1, doesn't make a ton of sense, but like, I guess one of these can't block. You can obviously give it some trample or some nonsense like that. We do have like a couple of sacrifice creature effects, or they're double hammer handing, just brain off. I'm just casting every spell. Okay, sure. I'll allow it. But I really have a choice. And a land for the last card, huh? Sure, I guess we pass. No attack here. Town ain't big enough for anything would be just great. At least next turn, because I can pay the ward, but if they have the protection spell, then I don't really necessarily get to cover it. If they have Monstrous Rage, they have Monstrous Rage, which I think they do, but double blocking doesn't really get me anywhere. Okay. Cool. Up to 37. Knowing maybe this matchup here, I think the big issue will just be like, we'll just need to find lethal, I guess. By like boring them to death is how we'll have to find lethal. I didn't really finish my thought, and I'm still continuing to draw horribly. But you know, that's typical situation. Run it, I guess. Yeah, there's a protection spell we knew they obviously had. At least it felt pretty obvious. Now they get hit for nothing. Nowhere to run to come in. Very cool. This will go away for the turn. No. The 1/1 here and yeah. Wow. Alright, we'll see what happens though. We'll pass here. It's a 3/4. It's so tough. Really need to turn bot here where they either just like play a land or something small happens. I should have played my basic swamp. Now I have to take a damage here. You're not offspring that? Why? Why would we not offspring there? No, but we're gonna let them give this double strike and then trample, and then we're gonna chump block to 7/6, and then we're gonna know where to run the 3/4, block it and kill it. Is our plan here. Jump block here, throw a block here. Doesn't seem like a great play, but this is why we should have played a swamp, because obviously, you know. I mean, is this maybe a no? I don't know if it's necessarily a mistake, but we could have answered that as well. Huh. Get the swamp down so I activate all my lands here. Do this, picking up this. They are at 42, so the amount of work we have to do to get through this game is going to be pretty tremendous. But now we basically have the same kind of play to break down. We can know where to run the 7/6. Go that route. Yeah. Okay. We're gonna run here. We're actually gonna change our mind. I'm gonna take care of this land. Now if they give this like Manifold Mouse double strike, we can just double block it. We don't even have to double block it here. So they just attack with one. We'll do this. In case they ever give the creature flying, we need to keep our flying creature around if we can. Up to 79. A nowhere to run for us. Okay. Activate this map. Do it on the flyer here. Town ain't big enough. It's actually going to be good enough of a card here. So let's play land. What is giving this most toughness? Like all those provide extra power and toughness? Sure. We should be able to just wait and respond to this combat. Because what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to play a second nowhere to run. Answer another creature. And then this town ain't big enough. Can actually still bounce a thing because they won't have hexproof or anything like that. Sure. Now what's on top? Go to blocks. Here, in here. What you got for me? What do you have for me? Okay. Respond. Here. To here. We now draw a card. Then we get to bounce this and this creature. They'll get none of their enchantments back. They'll all be gone, and we get our creature back, and then we get to grind the game out from there. A weird thing where the Boros deck goes up to almost 50 HP, and we're at 8, and they have arguably 0 chance of winning the game from there. Opponent first, we can Siren, we can Floodpits, we can hold up a get out. Blue black. Going to be an interesting match. I'm going to go ahead and play my Siren here. You have the one of these, which is kind of cool. Kind of see what happens here. Will our opponent play something? Most likely not. We'll get value out of our counterspell on their turn. Maybe we won't. Yeah, we won't. We lose the only... well, we can take 2, but to take the one that draws cards, which totally makes sense to me. Could conceal the swamp, which we have to if we want to use the get out. We'll attack. I have like a cut down or something, wanting to see if we use this map or not. I would assume they have a cut down. Maybe they'll use it on instep here to just get value. Can this hit a planeswalker? No. Kaito's only a creature when it's on their turn. Unlike I played a little modern today. It's like a little unlike Grist, you know. But we'll flash his Floodpits in. If they're going to do nothing, we're going to put on pressure. They might think we might miss the land here, so they might interact. Who knows? They definitely have the counter spell in their deck. Not saying it's in their hand, but it's the 2 mana counterless I pay 2. The Spree card that can also make a 2/2. Town ain't big enough is a pretty good find, but our hand's still a little awkward. Target here. Might try to tap our underground river for a colorless when we have a get out, so we definitely want to keep it. I think I'm going to toss that for now. We do have another copy of it, so it's a little bit sneaky. We'll just attack again. Again, if they try to flash in a creature to do something, we'll just counter it. Spell Pierce isn't a thing that we have to worry about. It's a pretty quick block right now. 4 damage a turn. We'll go to 11, 7, 3, and then dead if it's possible. Can't really interact with that. Here. Well, now it'll be 13, 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. So they got plenty of time. Be blue-black control then. Okay. It is a little weird to try to figure out exactly what your opponent's on sometimes, especially when there's like so many variations to just blue-black control. There's so many variations of just this deck alone. Deadly Cover Up a card that we have to kind of worry about, like a little bit. Seems like it is loaded up on removal. They just don't want to bend it or stretch it. So I think they want to make sure they can answer entity trackers, but not really sure what the move would be. If it's like land Deadly Cover Up, I might use this talent ain't big enough to pick up the Siren and the Stormchaser's talent, just to kind of like make sure I still have stuff to go throughout my game with. Oh, I guess we could do that maybe. Oh, my turn. Always buy back. This town ain't big enough. Another decent reason why we can just let it go most of the time. Good combat. Combat we go. Attack. Alright, well. Try down less likely. Maybe not even less likely, just I don't know. It's a weird spot. Deduce again, sure. This is a weird game, that's for sure. Okay. A lot of draw spells. Also not using the map, but alright. Yeah. Combat. Attack. Okay. Sure. Okay. Liliana. You have 2 mana. Liliana going to be a pretty good card here. We'll probably get rid of the infection if I get the plus. They do have a creature land, which is going to be the hardest part. Yeah. Weird variation of blue-black. Typically the best version of it is kind of the mid-rangey tempo style deck variation. It's like on the flash creatures playing the Kaitos and so on and so forth. But yeah, we'll keep both of our spells up and active. Another deduce. They're on blue-black. Draw some cards, I guess. Sure. That's 3 deduces down. A quick study. A little bit of hand disruption, so on and so forth. Another land, sure. Up to 7 now. Here's an enchantment you own. And okay, sure. I'll allow it. Milling themselves. Weird. I suppose these maybe? This resolve? Oh my, it does? This is the card I figured they've just had, but I guess not. One of the reasons why you make them have it. Here.
Something suspicious is going on. And for once,
Really down to just like plus here.
I'm tired of your secrets.
The Deadly Cover Up, sure. Got a little token. We'll try to hit him for 3. Yep. 6. Gotta think if we could have been cycling a nowhere, or not a nowhere to run, a E1 mana enchantment. Of course, if this land comes up, we can block with our 1/1. Even what we want to do. I can buy a spell back, don't worry. All the exile on this town ain't big enough. Did they cover up here? Oh! Okay. I was not ready for that. Play on land. I think we actually have lethal here if they don't have anything. Let's Lily minus. This is honestly to see if there's an interaction or not. Could be. This also could just be the like the clue here. Here. This is it. Again, they could obviously have this covered, but we're gonna make them have it covered though. I will force them to have it every day of the week. Good game. Okay. We end up getting there. We find the line. Very narrow line. I mean, it's kind of like an obvious line, like when you look at it, that exact scenario, but it's like, I call it only narrow because it's like your opponent has to not interact with you. Like a cut down when we cast the other spell with prowess, a go for the throw, an anoint. That deck is just full of removal. We go first. Very cool, very cool, very cool. We're down to keep this pretty much no matter what. I play this, we play here, and then what will happen is we'll play this off of this. Play this, activate map, and target the Siren, Authority of the Council's annoying card. But a card we have to deal with pretty often, so... Or not that often, I guess. I don't know the last time I've ever dealt with Authority of the Councils. Floodpits Drowner can go. We'll just have to kind of use what creatures we have in play to close the game. I don't think there'll be a temporary lockdown anytime soon. Elspeth Smite could be a card that shows up. We'll see what happens here. Here's 3 damage for our opponent to enjoy. I don't think they're going to enjoy it that much, but they can enjoy it if they'd like. Flash this in. Show me you have a nowhere to run. Maybe they have a get lost. I'll just use the maps. Here. One of the things I don't like about Get Lost, I've been pretty adamant about that card myself. Hopeless Nightmare, very good card for us to kind of put pressure on them, especially with all of our balance. They're going to try to hide behind their hand for as much as they can this entire game. And I'm just going to attack here. Now, they could have a Wrath, so I don't want to commit any more to the board. Obviously, I could just play the Stormchaser talent. No Wrath, it seems. Maybe a counter spell or so. We'll give you 1 life, I guess, because we can kind of counter that 1 life. Do I even care to give you the 1 life? If I cast this, you can counter it. Huh. Let's go to combat first. I think they're in a lot of trouble here. So I'm going to go to combat. Take the damage. Okay. Let's cast a Stormchaser's talent. Again, they might have a Sunfall or something here, which is like slightly annoying, but I'm going to force him to play the Sunfall before I go in for the Hopeless Nightmare kind of cycle plan. Here. If they don't, like I have lethal on board, but most likely there's the Sunfall. Here. Not that brokenhearted about it. I could cast this on this and this, but I'd much rather do it with my Hopeless Nightmare. Here. Discard, take 2. Get lost, sure. Just pass here. I can hold up this, like, get out, maybe. seem like the best thing in the world, but here I could just also target 2 of my things. Like, no way, no sir, no how. What spell could I get back? Nothing, because it got exiled. If I do this now, have another counter spell? No. Okay, interesting. Well, I'll just pass. I'm gonna walk it into a 3 steps ahead, or nowhere to. No more lies. Why? I can just do it on my turn. Alley is legal. I didn't even know that card was legal, to be honest with you. Sure. Gain 1 life, sure. I think drawing's a little more important here. Force him to have interaction. Of course, to get rid of the land, because you know that makes total sense. Then now, like the enchantments I play, you can draw. I can use them nowhere to run to get an extra draw. They do have to answer my tracker. Jace, sure. I'm not dead to Jace. Got a plus on the tracker. That's fine with me. That is fine with me. Let's do another Hopeless Nightmare here. Sure. Do I just go for it? Do I like just try to win here? Yes, so. Be like, hey man, you're gonna have to counter this. If not, you lose. Okay, cool. Do this, do that, do this, do those, do them. Yeah, so Storm talent, then play the river, hold up and get out, and then we can play the Restless Reef on 3 when we're not necessarily required to do anything with it. Especially considering we're going to let our opponent play a land here. They're going to cast a Beanstalk. We're going to counter said Beanstalk and have a good time. Rick, how much standard do you play? Enough to know, dude. I don't know, man. I need help. Land, we're in there. And then they're going to have an Ancient Cornucopia that I can't counter because it's an artifact. Bant. Ooh. Oh, another Beanstalk. Thankfully, we have another get out. We're having too much fun. Too much fun to have this much fun. I think the plan here might have to be a Stormchaser's talent win, where we just kind of rely on it, maybe leveling it up to 6 and then casting some spells to kind of get everything in and out of the way. But we're still unsure what they are. And there's a binding. They're going to pick up, what, my token? Not sure, dude. I will pass. One more land and then our reef's online, but obviously we're going to flash in this tracker. Hopefully there's no overlord here, but it seems like there's going to be. Oh, this is an enchantment off of the cavern, so I can't do anything because it's uncounterable. Can't be countered. I guess I will allow it. I'm gonna throw up, Dad. Here comes the tracker. Not the green overlord, so we're covered by that, which is nice. So we can attack, make them double block, then we know where to run one of them. Yep. There's no way they don't double block here, so we can kind of answer both pretty easily. Take a draw. Definitely need our 1 mana kind of guy to get us some card draw here. And then it is probably just play the Stormchaser's talent. Walk right into like a Sunfall of some kind. Ooh, another land's actually huge. Although this isn't necessarily going to do much. It can pick up a creature though. So I can pick up a tracker. I can also just like... I can just hold up my counter spell, I guess. One of these have I... Okay, I want this one. So another land, a little part of me kind of wants to level this up, but now line bindings are 1 mana. Okay. That's like fine. No land found. Let's play this here. You named Avatar, so the cards are just uncounterable. There's just not a whole lot I can do about it. Let's play this. I'm gonna walk into a board wipe, I guess. Oh, bless up. We got the hopeless nightmare to kind of start getting a ton of value. Without those beanstalks online, we're finding a lot of value. Okay, I wonder what card they're gonna cast next turn. Not my day of judgment. But then we get to go temporary lockdown. Wait, that's actually huge. That's so huge. Oh, Mamma Mia. This might be the greatest win of all time. I'm gonna play the second tracker. And then I am going to, I guess this is only mine, isn't it? I lied, team. I messed up. I'll do this. I don't know. I would like all these back. I would like 4 card draws, please. Like 4 of them. Yeah, for some reason I thought this was return to enchantments that weren't mine. But regardless, we got to do something really cool. Yeah, return up to 1 to 2 target creatures in your enchantments you own. That is actually interesting that it does say you own, because it doesn't specify control. Yorion had that clause back in the day. But yeah, very sick. We're moving on. Yeah, I mean, we'll keep. We finally get a hand that opens up with a hopeless nightmare, which is pretty cool. I don't think I've opened with one quite yet. We'll take a damage to play it. We're going to play this Fear of Isolation. And okay, I mean, this is why Arena doesn't allow you to open up with Hopeless Nightmare, because apparently it's just too good. All right, well, my opponent conceded last time I played a Hopeless Nightmare on turn 1, so we'll see if they do as well. Here we go. Man, would that not be hilarious, though? All right, we got auras, which is super sick, super fun for us. We have a card that's very good against them. Sure. Interesting. Sure. Let's just do this. Let's just get value off this trade, right? Like, sure, that hit me for 1, but like, the thing's kind of just stuck there. For a second, at least. Sure. Ethereal armor, they can try to protect this and no longer will work. Or to run, that's mine. We counter the ethereal armor, we get things moving, and I'm just hitting lands left and right like I... Sure, man. Sometimes you just hit lands and stuff like this, and you're like, yep, Arena wants me to win this game, I think. But sometimes it's just so bad, it's so hard. Sure, I guess. We'll see what they target here. I'm hoping it's like one of my permanents. Targeted that. Fantastic. That's fine with me. Huh? Lock. One O. Okay. Not have to pay the ward cost. I get my thing back, their card gets countered, and I move about my day like this. We hit them for 2. I think they might have been a little bit confused why I didn't pay the ward, but nowhere to run. Says ward and hexproof doesn't work. Okay. Our tap land here. We're gonna have to use this Floodpits Drowner to be good, along with this, I think. Ruckusing here. Sure. Now they can replace it, obviously. Maybe they'll Monstrous Rage or something. Why is there a stop on my upkeep? Planning on hitting me with like a shock or something? Now we can counter an enchantment spell, which is interesting. I guess I'll just pass. Right, because the last thing I need is for this to die to like a burn spell. And if this is just like a hit for 3, I'm going to allow it because of what I want to do. I guess cast this. Stun counter on it, they allow it. Okay. Well, now the thing is, like, I don't have to answer that right away, but should I? Should I not? I don't know. I'm just going to attack here. I'm going to see what's up. I could have ninjutsu'd in Kaito, but I don't think that's the correct play right now. That stays tapped. Maybe they play a 2-mana creature with haste. Do nothing. Obviously, the tracker is a bit more of a, like, a bit of a juicier target that my opponent might want. And now I can go for a nowhere to run, hold up counterspell-ish. Counterspell-ish. Counterspell adjacent. Let's resolve. Nice. Fantastic. Counter target enchantment spell. Not in my elo, brother. You do get to draw a card though, so you're not like, it's not like dead, right? Full attack here. I guess if they tap out, like, I don't know what I'd be afraid of. And now they've clearly missed creatures, so the infection is going to be really good here, I think. I lied. I'm just gonna trade that. Okay. Play this land. Combat attack. Obviously could do Kaito. I think with 5 mana I would. With only this amount of mana I refuse. Huh? Sure. Combat. Hackers. Kaito. This town isn't big enough, so I feel perfectly fine doing this. And they don't want to deal with Kaito. Okay. Interesting. Will we run into aggro once again? I've kind of hit that soft spot in today's meta. Well, with that said, we're going to run into something else. Let's pass here. Let's flash into Floodpits. If that's the case, might as well hold this for a draw. It's mono white. Everybody's favorite. Mono white caretaker's talent, and I don't have the counter spell. Here. Obviously looking to flash into tracker. Do have like a good counter spell for the caretaker's talent. It's just not currently in our hand. Oh, wait. Now I'm confused. Your auras? Now I'm confuzzled, chat. I haven't been saying chat in forever, and I don't know why I brought it out now. That's how confuzzled I was. But yeah, I mean, this should be a fine matchup. Honestly, the Tamer is a little annoying because it does make like a creature for us to have to deal with here. Do I go for the Stormchaser's talent, or do I know where to run? Or do I see if they block? I guess I do that, right? Attack. Maybe they'll block our 2/3, try to grow it, remove the tracker. No, okay. I don't think there's anything I have to necessarily worry about, but I can also answer this regardless. Well, then they can flash it in and protect it. Okay. Got to play nowhere to run. Nowhere to run. Where to hide, nowhere to run, nowhere to scream. Also, I've said this before, but if you maybe are like a little bit newer to this channel, I've said to discard. Now there could be another Magic card named this or what, I'm not entirely sure. I said that this should be named Nowhere to Hide for the fact that it gets around hexproof and ward kind of like hiding mechanics. You know, like, oh, you can't hit my creature, it has this protection. feel like it should be nowhere to hide. But that's just me. Azorius Auras kept kind of a whack hand. Kept a double plane start. Played an island. Finally played an enchantment eerie creature. Now on 3 mana. Maybe they also have a tracker to play. There's a blue. There's a white. There's Grand Freeway. Now, to be honest, we should be pretty well settled up here to answer about anything we need to, especially with this infection, because again, protection doesn't really matter, but also nowhere to run dodges all that. A 4/4 first striker that outgrows everything you would think. But when I tell you, doesn't grow enough. What do I want to put this on? Yes, the Drowner? Definitely not the Tracker. I don't think it's my prowess creature. Card has actually been kind of nuts. I don't think I've wanted more than one ever. But man, in spots like this card has been crazy. Like these big creatures where they're holding protection. It's a 4/4, nowhere to run. Number 2 cannot answer it. And even if it like could, or like maybe I don't have this, maybe I have a direct way to answer it, your protection spell just doesn't get it covered, which is super nice for us. We're trying to hit a land here so we can just like push the game over the edge and close, and finally we hit one. Having like Kaito ready to go, being able to double spell like nowhere to run, hold up a get out to counter like kind of an enchantment. But whenever you unlock this door, create a 1/1. Whenever you unlock this door, put a 1/1 counter on each up to 2 creatures. Not that big of a deal, yeah? Sure. Auras are cheaper. We shelter by Ghost Me. That's fine. But it doesn't matter. Ethereal armor. Protection once again. Well. Like Arena's also put in like some effort to make sure that these don't tap as frequently, I think I've noticed, which is kind of cool. I got a 2/3 with flying. I got this. Got prowess happening, and then we will target our opponent once again, and then we have 8 damage on the board to close out the game. Could always enchant one of their creatures, make them forcefully have to sacrifice the other. Again, there could be a smite here, I guess, too, but I mean, I think the game's closed. I don't know what I feel about that matchup. I definitely feel like a little bit of that just came from pretty loose hand keep, it seemed. But yeah, I mean, I think that's going to do it for us. Jump into the outro, talk about it a bit. All right, so here we are. We have quite the interesting deck. I've been playing Eerie Enchantments for a little bit over like 3 or 4 months now, or if you want to count the new year, a couple of days, you know, 1 whole day in the new year. But if you follow my channel for a while, you'll know that I've tried the Esper, I've tried the like Pixie Flicker deck with the big giant snake, although I do feel like this is a bit more of a snake deck, which I want to get into here in a little bit. But what I enjoy about this deck is just the overall synergy of the deck. It feels like Modern Humans, for example, where like I play a human that gets buffed because I played other humans. I'm playing this Aether Vial that synergizes well with my humans and allows me to curve 1, 2, and 3. And like, I don't know if this is like the best thing to compare to that, but just being able to have a deck that is fully revolved around something and not just like, here are the best blue-black spells that you could be playing in blue-black. Like, you know what I mean? Kind of like what Esper Rafine was. Like, Esper Rafine was Rafine, Gildred, like, not Tidebinder. I mean, they played Tidebinder, but like Urtai, they played Fairy Mastermind. And it felt like they were only strictly playing like what would be considered the best in slot cards, which it worked out incredibly well for their deck. I totally get it. It was one of the best decks in the meta, not particularly close, but Like outside of just drawing cards, it didn't feel like it had much synergy outside of that. But this feels so synergistic with like playing enchantment, cares about all the enchantments you play. An enchantment creature that picks up the enchantments. Spyglass Siren, just a value kind of pickup card. Like this is an example of a card that is not necessarily super synergistic, but you like it a lot here. Kaito kind of fits that same role. Because obviously, at the end of the day, you will play some cards that aren't necessarily the most synergistic, but like just strong value cards. But same with this talent ain't big enough. Like all these kind of center super well together. They kind of function with each other. They're really bad by themselves, but with one another, they become a lot better, right? Kaito's just always going to be good on his own. Drowner's probably just always going to be good on his own. Spyglass Siren's in multiple decks, just a very, very good value card. But then like Get Out as well fits super well with the theme of this deck, right? And I think that's what I love about it so much. I think I might have had some bad comparisons here, but if you kind of understand what I'm saying, then maybe you'll know a better comparison than I. But with that said, that's going to do it for me today. I totally enjoyed playing this deck. I do think this Infection was a lot better. Oh, the Snake. I did say something about the Snake. I do feel like we kind of dropped this card like a bad habit, and I do feel like this deck is kind of a spot for it. Maybe if you're not like a huge Kaito fan, this might be just a good Rotmouth Viper deck, which is weird to say, but when you think about it, it's actually not that bad, right? Because if you play a Stormchaser's talent, you make that token, you use the talent, and then say for some reason you use this talent ain't big enough on the talent bounce a thing, you play another one, that's 3 permanents. Maybe you have a Hopeless Nightmare in there as well. That's 4 permanents. This Snake can come down. In worst case, like, just get the value. They've removed other things, or you're putting in a lot of pressure, and then you get to play the Snake. And against the way the format is right now, with so much aggro, putting a 6/6 in the way that can close the game like instantly is pretty good. And it almost feels like maybe this should be in over Kaito, or maybe the one Lily. I'm not really sure, but this definitely is a card that I'm going to have my eye on whenever, like, maybe constructing this deck, maybe put it in just to have, like, oh, hey, let's check out this card so you don't have to randomly craft this mythic to see if it's good, because I have 4 of them. So one of those things as well. But with that said, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.